ideas, girls as change makers, as innovators, is a very exciting idea. So she's one that floats to the top. And then there's another young woman. She came up with an idea in her teens. She's trying to change the bra industry. She was disgusted when she went with her younger sister to go shopping for bras and felt that they were incredibly inappropriate, what was available for tweens and young teens. And her company is called Yellowberry. And she has done a magnificent job, and she is actually working with American Eagle now. She's designing a collection for them, a nationwide store. So there's some girls doing some really cool things, just like you were saying, passionate, but looking at how do I make this bigger? How do I make an impact with this?
Well, that's fabulous. And I have to say that, I'm coming across more and more men who are becoming much more service-oriented, too. And I guess it goes on both fronts. But, you are an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. And I've often thought, is entrepreneurialism for everyone? And I have to say, I don't really believe so. I mean, I would love it. But I think that we do need our worker bees. If we didn't have our worker bees, we would not have businesses, because the worker bees are the ones that have to do what we say we want them to do. Now, hopefully, each one of those people think of themselves as an entrepreneur within an organization. In other words, I'm going to do the very best job I can. I'm going to make as much profit for the company as I can. I'm going to come up with ideas for the company because, I love it so much. But in reality, there are people who want a paycheck, who want benefits, and who want paid vacations. Those things were never a part of my life because, it just never was. So what do you think? Do you think entrepreneurialism is for everybody?
Dr. Gail, I'm in total agreement with you. I've actually worked with entrepreneurs at some of my startups where entrepreneurialism was not for them, and they were miserable. They would have been much happier being entrepreneur, like what you were describing. So I totally agree with you. I know what I'm trying to do is ignite the entrepreneurial spirit, so that exactly what you were saying, so that if you're working at a company, that's the right choice for some people, but what you bring to it is excitement. You're looking at the big picture. You understand how the business works so that you're not just doing your one little thing, because it's more satisfying for the person doing the work, and it's also better for the company. And I think you move your career along better. But I entirely agree with you. As we both know, entrepreneurialism can be incredibly challenging, and not everybody has the right personality or interest in it, and it's hard. So I totally
agree. It is hard. It is hard. And, I'm thinking back to, like, the early 2000s when I went over to Namibia, and I was working over there, and that happened to be the year of the entrepreneur. And it was very interesting because I was there to do a certain number of workshops and seminars and so forth, and 3 speakers never showed up. And, of course, when you're in Namibia, there aren't speakers around the corner. So I told the host, I said, I'm here anyway. You're paying me anyway. I've got enough material. I could stay here for a month, and I would never run out of anything. So just put me on where you need me. And that's what she did. And I really kind of saved her, what. And so we became very good friends. But it was the year of the entrepreneur. And there were more women there, which I found very interesting, than men. And some of the things they were doing were just amazing. It was like one person had started out with one cell phone. Now, remember, this was back in the early 2000s. One cell phone that people paid to use to call different people, and then branched out to 2 cell phones, and eventually had 15 cell phones, believe it or not, chained, on a chain, to like a tree stump. It was amazing, and was making a lot of money by charging people to use the cell phone because they could not get a cell phone on their own. And I think it's quite different now, but then it was really unusual. And I thought, now there's somebody who is really an entrepreneur because they had an idea, and then it branched out from one little phone to 15, and they were doing extremely well. So I think entrepreneurialism is alive globally, and I think it's just amazing what some people can come up with. But what are some things that adults can do to nurture that entrepreneurial spirit in their children?
Well, I think a lot of kids already have that nugget. You see even something like a lemonade stand. A child can learn so much from that. If they do, I actually have tips on my website. I have a blog, brightgirlscompany.com, and I do like lemonade stand tips. So how do they test a sign? We do a thing. I recommend you do 2 signs. I give some tips. You do the first one for a half hour, the second one for a half hour, and then whichever one performs better, they do that for the rest of the time. So there's so much they can learn from simple things. So if they show that nugget of interest, it's nurturing it and encouraging them. In fact, I had one woman I met and she said, "Oh, it's so great that you're here talking about this. I just happened to have my 10-year-old daughter this weekend told me that she wanted to bake brownies and sell them." And she said, "But I told my daughter, you have to make absolutely the best brownies. Otherwise, you're not going to succeed." And I got what the mom was saying, but I said, honestly, that's not the key to success. Yes, you have to make a good product you're proud of, but it's the marketing, it's the getting the word out. And if you squash your daughter by setting this bar so high that she shouldn't even bother, going and selling it somewhere unless she made the best brownies in the world, well, she's not going to learn anything. So it's this idea that think about all the things they can learn. If they show you that nugget of interest and they just have a weekend to do it, then let them do it then. They'll remember it. They'll take something away from it. So that's what I would say is probably the easiest thing.
That's so true. And not only that, they would have to understand the cost of the ingredients going in there, so they'd understand how the markup had to be, and then they'd have to take in, the overhead of what was the electricity or the gas or whatever they were using. So all of that is part of it, and I think that's terrific. So let's find out. First of all, how can people get in touch with you, and tell us what's next for Bright Girls?
So my website is the best way. It's brightgirlscompany.com. You can learn more about my book there. And I also have for older girls and boys, I just did a series on selling on eBay. So there's all sorts of interesting things on there and I'd love to get feedback from people on what they're reading, what's helping them, what they'd like to see. And then what's next for me is I'm going to continue focusing on entrepreneurialism, but I'm moving also now into the finance and financial literacy area because those go hand in hand. You have to know how to make the money and have a good career, but then you also have to know how to manage your money. And so I'm going to be moving now more into content around that area, and I'm excited about that.
So it's Bright Girls Company?
Yep, it's all one long word, BRIGHT, girlscompany.com.
Fantastic. Well, if you want to find out what Holly's doing and even possibly model it in your community, I'm sure she'd be interested in talking with you about that. So if there are those of you who are listening who just have your own passion for teaching young girls all about finance and business and entrepreneurship, be sure to get in touch with Holly. She has a lot of information. She's done a lot of research. She knows what's going on, and I'm sure she would be delighted to talk to you. So we've got about 30 seconds left, Holly. Anything you want to leave our listeners with?
No, I would just say have fun, enjoy the girls and boys. Again, even though it's focused on girls, I hear from people that boys are using it, the information too, which is great. And just, go girlpreneurs.
Fantastic. Well, my guest has been Holly Lichtenfeld, who is our guest today from brightgirlscompany.com. You can find her there. You can find out about her books. It's just a wonderful thing that she's doing. And for those of you who are interested in that young population, and even for some of you who might be active in the school system, if you could bring something like this into the school system, and Holly's got all the information, I think that would be a fantastic thing. Well, I want to thank you so much for being with us today, Holly, and we'll look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you so much.